Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordy and Glory video. Today we will be doing another unit review, this time taking a look at the warrior elite of Cadia, the Kasrkin. For those of you who may not have seen one of these unit reviews before, what I like to do is go over a summary of the model, go through its pros and cons, and then finally give a score and recommendation. Is it a unit you should be taking, or one you should be avoiding? So without further ado, Cadia stands, Abaddon is a cook, and let's dive straight into today's video. The Kasrkin are the elite of Cadia, the very best that the Cadian shock troopers have to offer. Every single Kasrkin is a hardened and experienced veteran who has been through hell and back again and looked chaos directly in the eye without flinching. Unlike Scions, who have the majority of their members being orphans of Imperial officers, the Kasrkin draw exclusively from the rank and file. There is no birthright in the Cadian elite. Every single member has had to prove their worth to be there. Many Kasrkin squads are all that remain of whole companies of regular troops that were whittled down to just a hardened few, the survivors forming intense bonds of brotherhood. Occasionally, a member of the youth battalions, also known as the White Shields, will be picked out for specialist training and elevated to Kasrkin status if they show particular levels of aggression, martial skill, and fighting prowess. Overall, the Kasrkin are some of the best soldiers that the Imperium has to offer, rivaling even the elite Scions in terms of ability. But that's the fluff. What about the crunch on the tabletop? Well, unsurprisingly, they are an elite choice in the new 9th edition Astra Militarum Codex. Their squads come with a fixed number of models and they get 10 soldiers in each squad of Kasrkin. I would personally describe Kasrkin as specialist infantry. That means that if you can build them around a specific game plan or role that you want them to perform on the battlefield, they will be able to do that very well, better than regular soldiers. You can just chuck them into a list and use them as guardsmen, but a little bit better. But if you want to get the most out of them, come up with a nice special mission for them to do. For example, do you want a unit that can teleport behind enemy lines, assassinate characters, and maybe threaten the backfield objectives on the board? Kasrkin have got you covered. Do you want a mechanized infantry unit that can get out of a transport after its move, which is very rare in Warhammer 40k normally, and you can use them as either a fast response unit to try and plug a gap in your own line where the enemy attack is really putting pressure on you, or to help spearhead an attack into the enemy side of the board? Again, Kasrkin have got you covered. They very much are a specialist elite unit that can be tailored to do a specific role on the battlefield very well. So that's a general overview of the Kasrkin, but let's dive now into some specifics, starting off with their stat line. Each Kasrkin trooper has a movement of 6, a weapon skill of 4+, a ballistic skill of 3+, strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 7, and a 4+ save. The Kasrkin sergeant has the same stat line, except he gets an extra attack and an extra leadership. The Kasrkin sergeant is equipped with a bolt pistol and frag and crack grenades, and every Kasrkin trooper comes with a hotshot lasgun, frag, and crack grenades. Up to 4 Scions can replace their hotshot lasguns with a special weapon, either a flamer, a grenade launcher, a hotshot volley gun, a melt gun, or a plasma gun. However, you can never take the same special weapon more than twice. That means you could take 2 plasma guns and 2 melter guns, for example, but you couldn't take 3 plasma guns and a melter gun or go 4 plasma guns in one squad. The maximum of each special weapon that you can take in each Kasrkin squad is 2. In addition to those 4 special weapons, you could also take a whole bunch of extra equipment. 1 Kasrkin trooper can be given a hotshot marksman rifle. 1 Kasrkin trooper can replace his las gun with a hotshot las pistol and a melter mine. 1 Kasrkin trooper who's got a hotshot las gun can be given a voxcaster. Little side note here, it's interesting how the Kasrkin soldier with a voxcaster gets to keep his rifle, but the Scion trooper with a voxcaster has to take a pistol. It's interesting that. You can also give the Kasrkin Sergeant a bunch of equipment. He can take a chainsword for free, or you can pay for a power sword, and he can swap his bolt pistol with a hotshot las pistol or a plasma pistol. In addition to all of the war gear options that Kasrkin have available to them, they also have a really good datasheet ability, which is Warrior Elites. When you add this unit to your army, you can select one doctrine that no other unit from your army has. This unit has this doctrine in addition to any others it has. That means you could take an army that has, for example, got born soldiers across the whole army, and then Kasrkin would also get to pick an extra regimental doctrine on top of that. This makes them very, very powerful. In fact, this is one of the most important distinctions between Kasrkin and Scions. And it's inevitable that the two units are going to get compared because they both have basically the same equipment and stat line. Kasrkin get regimental doctrines and they get the warrior elite ability. Scions don't get regimental doctrines, they don't get warrior elite, they have the stormtrooper ability instead. That kind of acts like their regimental doctrine. But it is important to note that your Scions will not benefit from things like born soldiers, but your Kasrkin will. Another thing to really just note about the Kasrkin is how many specialists they can get in a single squad. I suspect this is because their kit is essentially based on a kill team kit where everyone in kill team is a specialist of some kind or another. So if you really break it down, I think you can end up with like 2 basic guys in a squad and everyone else is going to have some kind of specialism. So for example, you've got the Sergeant, obviously a specialist. You've got 4 special weapon guys. So already half of the squad is doing something other than just holding a rifle. You've then got the Voxcaster guy, you've got the Melter Mine guy, and you've got the Hotshot Sniper guy. So literally, out of a squad of 10 guys, 8 of them are going to have some kind of special war gear, and 2 of them are just going to be basic bods. And all of this equipment goes from being somewhat usable to downright fantastic. There's not a bad bit of war gear in a Kasrkin squad. For example, the Hotshot Sniper Rifle adds an extra bit of punch to the squad. It might only be 1 shot. It might only have AP -2 and Strength 4. The same as like having a single Hotshot volley gun shot, right? But it's a flat damage 3, and that is very, very nice. You shoot that sniper rifle at anything from regular infantry like marine intercessors through to enemy light characters through to even some light vehicles. It's going to tear a chunk out of anything that you shoot at. A flat damage 3 sniper rifle is actually really, really good and makes the Kasrkin sniper one of the best in the game. Some people may argue that the Melter Mine is a bit of a fluff upgrade, but I really like it because it allows your Kasrkin to not only threaten vehicles at range, but also start getting up close and personal with them too. You see, the Melter Mine gives you access to the Melter Mine stratagem, and that allows you to do mortal wounds to enemy vehicles in combat. If you've then got a Sergeant rocking a power weapon as well, and don't forget all of your Kasrkin are going to be having 2 attacks base, it means that once you've unloaded your plasma guns and your melter guns into the enemy vehicle that's barreling towards you, you can actually probably finish it off in close combat. It's certainly not a absolutely mandatory upgrade, but if you've got 5 or 10 points left over in your list, you've got a couple of units of Scions and they haven't got Melter Mines in them yet, I'd probably spend those 10 points on getting both those units of Scions some Melter Mines. Speaking of close combat, Kasrkin are not dedicated close combat units. Even if you give them fixed bayonets, it really isn't where they want to be. However, they do have 2 attacks per guy, which means that in a squad of 10 with a sergeant with a chainsword, you are looking at 22 attacks. You can give them take aim, which will mean they'll hit on 3s in combat at AP -1. Essentially, Kasrkin can bully other enemy light infantry. If you've got an enemy force that's holding an objective, maybe it's made up of a squad of 10 fire warriors, and you try and shoot them to death, but you don't quite manage it, you don't need to be afraid of getting into combat with them and finishing the job off. Kasrkin are great at bullying guardsman equivalent units. That's fire warriors, Eldar, or even, other guardsmen. But like I said, Kasrkin principally are a shooter unit, and this is very much reflecting the fact that you get up to 5 special weapons, including that sniper, in a squad. You could have a Kasrkin squad with a sergeant with a plasma pistol, 2 plasma guns, 2 melter guns, and a hot shot sniper, and someone could chuck a crack grenade as well. They really can put out an incredible amount of damage output just at a base level. And it gets even more insane when you start taking into account Warrior Elite and also some of the stratagems that they have access to. In fact, I have a separate video coming out talking all about the Kasrkin bomb, which is a way that you can get a single unit of Kasrkin to do 18 mortal wounds in a single turn. They really do have some fantastic combinations inside the new guard book. And the reason they have access to so many fantastic combinations is that Warrior Elite ability. In fact, thanks to being able to take an extra regimental doctrine on top of the other ones in your army, Kasrkin have access to more relics and stratagems than any other unit in the entire codex. Not only can you use Cadian specific ones, such as Vengeance for Cadia and Cadia Stands, but you can also use many of the regiment specific ones thanks to Warrior Elite. So for example, if you make your Kasrkin be mechanized infantry as part of their Warrior Elite extra regimental doctrine, they can use the Armored Fist stratagem. Maybe you've got Born Soldiers army-wide on top of that. Well, Ingrained Precision comes your way. The fact that they can use Experienced Eye, which is normally only for Elite Sharpshooter Corps, but then it also lets Kasrkin use it to give them an extra AP, is fantastic. You can use Overlapping Fields of Fire. You could also use many of the ones that give you access to more war gear. You've also got access to things like the Melter Mine stratagem, of course, which also on top of that gives you access to Vicious Traps. There's just so many overcharged las cells. You've got acceptable losses. Just mount up. You've literally just got access to just so many different stratagems. And then the relics on top of that as well. Of course, you can benefit from the Relic of Lost Cadia, but there's many other ones that you can put on your Kasrkin Sergeant. So, for example, you can give him the Barbican's Key, the Legacy of Caladius, the Claw of Desert Tigers, the Emperor's Fury. Just honestly, they have access to all of the relics that you could possibly want, all of the stratagems, and because of this, they can do so many combinations. If you don't take Born Soldiers, you can take 3 different regimental doctrines on a single unit of Kasrkin. You could take mechanized infantry and heirloom weapons and veteran guerrillas on one squad. So they really, it's because of all these different things, means you can combine a lot of stuff together to make them very, very powerful. In fact, there are only 3 small disadvantages that I can think of when it comes to fielding a squad of Kasrkin. The first one being that they have a fixed squad size. That does make them somewhat less flexible than Scions. For example, if you want to give them the Barbican's Key so that they can start teleporting behind enemy lines, well, trying to fit in a big squad of 10 against an enemy that's quite good at screening you out is going to be kind of tricky. They also can't deep strike. Now, for some people, that won't be a problem. Stick them in a Chimera, that's fine. Put them in a Valkyrie, they're okay. But natively, they can't come in from reserve and teleport anywhere on the battlefield. That's another little trick that the Scions have over them. Also, for all of their damage output and the crazy combinations that you can put together for them, they die just as easily as a regular human. The difference between a 4+ save on a Toughness 3 model and a 5+ save on a Toughness 3 model in actual tabletop terms is negligible. 40k is so lethal these days that being a standard Toughness 3 human, it doesn't matter what armor you're wearing, you're going to die very easily. Another thing that I want to mention, and this isn't necessarily a disadvantage, it's just something you're going to want to be aware of, which is, I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but they really, really do shine when they've been given a specific job in mind. You can chuck them into a battalion to get yourself 30 extra bodies without having to buy an extra detachment. But really, you should be thinking of giving your Kasrkin a special role. And if you can't think of giving them that special objective, then you're probably better off taking another choice. They really do shine when you layer these combinations on top of them. If you use them as basically 30 slightly better line infantry, fine, they'll do okay. But you're paying a premium and not really getting the most out of the unit. Now, traditionally, this has always been the role of Scions, but I personally think that now, in the new guard book, Kasrkin are the specialists and Scions are the shock troopers. Scions are actually relatively easy to put into a list as some better line infantry. You take 3 squads of them, you stick a commander near them with the drill commander warlord trait, and off they go. They just act as an elite platoon that moves around the board, shooting things and doing damage, and you don't need to worry about a special mission for them. They're just there to kill things. Kasrkin don't really like operating in that way quite as much. I'm not saying you don't build them to kill things. You absolutely do. But it's a bit more complicated than just going 30 Scions, a warlord trait, and a command squad, off you go. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that is really the difference, in my opinion, between Kasrkin and Scions. Now, Kasrkin are more specialist. Scions are more shock troops. However, these really are just very minor issues, and overall, they are a very strong elite infantry choice in the new guard book. In fact, I would go as far to say as saying they are one of the best units in the new codex. To represent this, I've given them a staggering 9 out of 10 rating. That is the highest rated unit that I've done as part of these unit reviews to date. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Are you Team Scion or are you Team Kasrkin? And what cool combinations have you come up with for the Warrior Elite of Cadia? Let me know down in that comment section below. If you've enjoyed today's video, then make sure you smash that like button, just like Abaddon smashed that Blackstone Fortress into Cadia, and also subscribe to make sure that you never miss an episode. If you really enjoyed today's video or you found it particularly helpful, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. One of the big perks of becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter is you gain access to the Mordian Glory Discord server. That is a community with over 700 active members. There is always someone in there to talk to about lists, tactics, hobbying, painting, or just memes and general chit chat. It's always popping off in the Mordian Glory Discord, and if that sounds like a whole hell of a lot of fun, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter and getting yourself inside that Discord server. And I just want to take a moment to say a big thank you to the latest channel members and Patreon supporters. Now, we have had an explosion of new people join the channel, so this might take a minute or two, but I want to make the effort and say thank you to every single one of them. So a big thank you to PJ, Alex Stratton Lake, The Lonely Shepherd, Matthew, Dalachi Cappuccino, IB, Hidalago 334, Justin, Cliff, Robert, Alex, Jack, Son of Boulder, Oliver McDonald, Adrian, Crocodilian A, Feels Badman 69, Jay Hickman, Kian, Zoopskim, CT7479, John Thacker, Return of the Mac, Guard, Axel, The Anglo-Germanic Wanderer, Holden, Dimitri, Rattle, Omega, Zach, Ads, Heretic Dave 40k, Dylan, Ben, Ryan, Jack, FRVN_6, Murray, Dennis, Shake My Head, Mark Andre, Cherubael, Nolan, Keith, Adeptus Ridiculous, Total Fan, RC Gunner, Duke of Penchington, Mike, Igra, Richard 9268.1, John, David, Tank Sniper, Azragar, Wolfenbach, Alan, Sabian, Nick, Dylan, Fisher Fury, Kobold, Ymir, Marshall, Glomoff, Robert, Machello, David, Lord Biscuit, James, Son of Gohan, and 101 Sugar High. Thank you guys for doing your part. Thank you for supporting the channel. Shout out to the latest Patreon supporters too, with a big thank you to Echo Marker, Potato Wrangler, Dan Dodge, Ragnarocus, Zar Phoenix, Soviet Commubot, Vincent, Ads, Jared, Brian, Rawl, Dark One Mushroom, Nixie, Nancy, Victor, Tack, Blazing Baron, Jesse, Michael, David, Colin, Stulty, Mr. Joel, Adventure, Adrian, Nathan, Hatman, and Old Bean UK. Thank you guys for your ongoing Patreon support. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the War Masters, the people that have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a massive thank you to Bonbon Vert, Philip French, Ross Miller, Tequal, Alex Dengal, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Swordfish Trombone, Diesel Fox, Tom Sutton, and August Varney. Thank you guys for your very generous support. It is a big part of how I'm able to do this channel full time now. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.